I do want to say a little story that Jordan may enjoy, but just to let him know, no matter the story, Jordan, in all ways, I'm better than you. We're in a constant competition, and so we played Top Golf, and I said I beat him, but the first game I lost. Second game, I just want to talk about second game. I won that one. But a few years ago, we had a youth camp. We did our own youth camp, and it was super fun. We had a great time. We had some guys from the church help us to run this, and one of the elements of the youth camp was a massive slip and slide. Massive slip and slide. And so we said, this can't just be a big slip and slide. It's got to be a super slippery slip and slide. And so what was there, like soap? Put soap down. Got me, Chris, and a few of us, man. So just soap down a bunch of water. And so the kids were having a blast. And so I looked at Jordan. I just said, you and me. Because here's my thought. I got more body weight than this guy. Right, I'm bigger, and so gravity's going to carry me to the finish line. I'm going to be like a bolt of lightning heading down. My only problem is stopping, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I was thinking. Well, so we get to go in, and we're running, and then I'm not even on the ground yet, and he's just like bobsledding past me. And I've already known in that moment, I've lost. And so my philosophy is this, and again, I can be wrong, but I would rather be a quitter than a loser. Anybody with me? I'd rather quit than lose. I don't lose well. I will turn the video game off in the middle. I don't lose well. So I'm on the slip and slide, and I'm running in mid-stride. My thought is I'm just going to stop, and I'm going to quit. But here's what didn't happen well. Stopping mid-stride in the middle of a slip and slide with soap and water on it. And so what happened next is a little blurry, to be honest. I've been told about it, but I don't remember the moment. All I remember is heel, back, knees, face, all the way down this hill. I did not slip and slide. I tumbled and fell and broke, right? And it was just not a good moment. Jordan, you won that one. You won that one, hands down. You won that one. Here's what's interesting. 1/10 of an inch doesn't seem like a whole lot, does it? That's all it takes in your car to hydroplane. Do you know that 1/10 of an inch of water? That's it. Not much. Has anybody ever done it? I flipped a car before because of a hydroplaning. 6 inches, super small still, not major. But 6 inches of water is all it takes when you're driving to completely lose total control. 6 inches is all that it takes of running water to knock a grown person off of their feet. 6 inches of running, 6 inches. Super small, not really a lot. 1 foot of water will begin to float most cars. That's not that much, really. 2 foot will carry away most vehicles. Doesn't really seem like a lot, but that's why they have those sayings, turn around, don't drown. You know what I mean? When most people think it's not a big deal, it's not that much, but they don't realize little by little that they're losing footing, they're losing ground, and that they're being swept away. And so the city of Lufkin, because we know this to be true, right? Because it's been flooding crazy around here. Actually, here's a couple of pictures that I saw yesterday on a road. I was driving and not in my fashion, not paying too close of attention, almost drove straight. That's a road. Almost drove straight into it. Where's the other one? You can see a little bit broader view. And we were like, I had my 9-year-old with me, but we both got out. And we were like, you cannot see the end of it. As far as I could see, there was no road. And I'm not going to lie, I thought I can make it. Right? Everybody thinks they can make it. They're the person that can make it when nobody else could. And so I was looking, though, and I had my 9-year-old with me, and my 9-year-old's the only thing that gave me common sense of turn around, don't drown. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Well, City of Lufkin, you know, the police department, they put out a meme a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if y'all saw it online. Can we show that? Welcome to Lufkin, Texas, where some fools still think they can make it through the Frank Street underpass. A little blurry when it got blown up, but there's cars floating on the Frank Street underpass because if you know anything, downtown, it dips down, and every single time downtown floods, somebody says, I'm the one that can do it. And then they realize what their insurance does and does not cover in a bad way. Life has its share of struggles, doesn't it? It does. It just does. Flooding, winds, rains. And honestly, like, it's super easy if we're not careful to lose our footing. To look up and we're being swept up in and swept away by the struggle that we're in, by the current of the condition of life that we've found ourselves in. And so Jesus told a story in Matthew chapter 7, and this story, it's about two builders, two houses, right? And so he tells this story of this condition that happens to these two houses have different results. Let me read it for you real quick. Matthew chapter 7, starting at 24, it says, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash." Two houses that I think he didn't distinguish a lot in the houses. Two houses that I think probably had a lot of similarities. Two houses that on the outside, by all rights, had a lot of the same things. I'm picturing the same shutters. They went to Sherwin-Williams. They get the same color of gray because that's popular. That's in right now. They got the same shingles. They went to the same contractor to do most of the work and get all the nice windows. Like this is what, on the outside, the two houses looked really good, the same. Here's the other thing. We see they're in the same location. Didn't say anything about them being in two totally different locations. Two houses, two same locations. And what we also see is similar is the same storms, right? The same winds hit both. The same rains come, the same floods. But when you read the story in its entirety, you see that it's two very different results, don't we? It didn't turn out the exact same for both of the houses. One stood through all of it, and one fell, but didn't just fall. It had a great fall, like a Humpty Dumpty. And ain't nobody could put that baby back together again. See, the Bible, I love the Bible, how real and true it is, right? If most books that want to teach their ideas would leave out all the parts and the people who were failures that still carried the idea and all the difficult stuff. They would leave that out. But the Bible includes it all to show that what God is giving us surpasses the person or surpasses the circumstance. Well, it makes it very clear of one thing, that life hits. And sometimes life hits really hard. Bible does not sugarcoat that. And I'm grateful. Jesus didn't say, it's all buttercups and butterflies from here. No. He said, it's what he said in John 16:33. You will have trouble. Like, mark it down, put an exclamation point by it, underline that, highlight it, whatever you got to do to know that it's true. Now, he follows it up and he says, take heart, I've overcome the world. He reassures us, but I think what's also as important as that, he also reminds us. Like it's coming, right? Like life is going to hit sometimes. 2 Corinthians, this guy named Paul who wrote most of the New Testament, who was radically changed by God, you would think somebody who like planted churches and does all this amazing things, they're exempt from trouble, right? This guy would be, but he's writing, and he says something like this. He says, I'm hard-pressed on every side. Like, every single side, I feel like I'm an egg about to crack. I'm just pressed. But he does follow it up, and he says, I'm not crushed, but I am pressed. Like it hits. It hits. And both of the houses experienced the same conditions. 1 Corinthians 16:13 tells us this. It said, be on your guard. Stand firm in the faith. Be courageous and be strong. Stand firm. Stand firm. I read that phrase over and over and over and over again this week. Stand firm, stand firm, stand firm, stand firm. Can anybody agree sometimes it's all I can do to stand? Would anybody just be honest in church with me and take off the little mask and just say, sometimes I'm just standing. Sometimes I'm just there. Stand firm. Sometimes it seems so easy, right? Because it's sunny outside and there's just a cool breeze and birds are chirping. I feel like I'm in a fairy tale book. Some days are great, but some days seem like standing firm is a fairy tale. Some days it seems like a lofty task because we feel the droplets of rain. We feel the wind that's hitting. We feel like the hurricane of life coming against us. And sometimes all I can do is just stand, but like we can stand firm. Like we can have a faith that stands. That's the structure of our lives that we built is there no matter what hits it. I want that kind of faith. I want a faith that stands. But more than that, I need a faith that stands. It's not just a desire, this would be nice. It's a need. I have to have a kind of faith that whenever I trust in it, my life is firm. And I look sometimes and I have to ask, is that the kind of faith that I actually have, though? And so a question that I've really asked myself and I ask us collective is the faith we're standing on a faith that stands? Is the faith we're standing, because anything that your life is standing on and believing in and trusting in, that's your faith. That's what you have faith in. Now, again, it's super clear. There's going to be the wind and the rains. There's going to be the stuff beating against it in life. That wasn't different, was it? It was the same thing, the same conditions. Now, the winds and the rains and the difficulty of your life may look different than an actual storm and flood. May look like busyness. I'm just running. And it seems like I never catch up. And you look up, and you may even be doing what you one day said you wanted to do, and you're miserable doing it because you just can't catch up. Maybe it's busyness. Maybe it's stress, because sometimes that can lead to stress. And you can just life is overwhelming. It's just too much. And so I look up, and I just don't even enjoy the life that I'm in. Maybe it's an illness, right? Maybe like there's been a diagnosis or just something you've had to live with, an underlying pain that's super, super tough. Maybe that's the winds that's been hitting against you, and your faith is feeling it right now. Maybe it's financial strain or addiction or hurt. Like you fill in the blank. There's 1,000 things there. But honestly, sometimes it doesn't even take a lot. 1/10 of an inch, right? Car flies off the road. I flipped that thing about 3 times. Wasn't going real fast. Hit a culvert with the tire when I was trying to correct. 1/10 of an inch. It's not a lot. It's not a lot on the road there. 6 inches. Lose total control. A couple of feet. It's floating away. You don't even realize it. Sometimes you don't even realize it in the middle until you've completely lost your footing and you're far from where you ever wanted to be. And so what happens in life is we look up and it looks this way. It looks like I start kind of seeing some cracks in the structure. I look at what I've built. I look at my life, and I see then there's some cracks forming. There's some cracks maybe in my relationships. Maybe I just try to overlook, but I know they're there. There's some cracks in my attitude. Like I just know that I'm feeling different. And so I'm lashing out at people. I'm short-tempered. There's just some cracks, right? And you know, like you can look and, I almost said you can look and see your crack. No, back up. But you can look in your life and know those areas that you just know, like, there's an issue. Like there's a crack in the fact that there was some joy there one time, right? And like right now, it's just not there. There's a crack with anxiety and mentally in your drive. It's just this crack because you just making it through, but you don't really have dreams anymore. You don't have hopes anymore, right? Desires. And so what happens is this life that we hoped for now just feels completely fractured. And if we're really honest, I feel like I'm not very far from a great fall. And I'm going to be looking for all the king's horses and all the king's men and hoping he can put me back together again. But right now, like I just don't I just don't know. So what we do, here's what we do, here's what I do. We start trying to fix the stuff that's broke. You go to Home Depot and you get some of that spackle stuff and you put it in the cracks. You go and you match up the paint and we fill the paint in. You buy new curtains because they got messed up. And the problem is, every time we fix it, a month later the crack just gets bigger and bigger. And you realize that maybe there's something more to this, that fixing the same superficial things doesn't fix the problem. See, there was a structure that was built over 800 years ago in a small area in Italy, small area called Pisa. Everybody already know where I'm going with this? The structure that they went to go build found the perfect spot. And actually, they're building this structure, and its point was to honor God. It was the bell tower of a cathedral. So they're building this, and they get about 4 floors up, and then different wars break out. They have to pause, but something begins to happen with the building. They realized that what they built it on was not made for a structure of that size. The foundation wasn't right. It was too weak, and so this began to lean. And so instead of starting over and maybe trying to fix what was really the problem, what they did is about 100 years later, more architects tried. They tried and tried. So here was their solution. We're going to offset and build more floors, more levels, and we're going to build them at an angle the other way. Wouldn't you know what happened? It leaned the other way now, and it's shaped a little bit like a banana. Like that was there. And so they've tried over the years. They've put stuff in the bottom. They've put stuff underneath. But that is still, what do we know that tower as? The Leaning Tower of Pisa. Pizza? Pizza. Is that where pizza came from? Pisa. P-I-S-A. You know, there's a modern building that has a similar problem. The Millennium Building in San Francisco, 2008 was built. They didn't dig down deep enough, and the building started to lean. And they're having to now put more money into the foundation to fix the problem than they actually put in the entire structure to build it in the first place. It's not just an old thing, it's a recent thing that sometimes the issue is a foundation problem, not just a superficial one. Until we get to the issue, the cracks are still going to be there, and sometimes they're going to be irreparable because they're a foot wide and breaking apart, and you can't put spackle on that anymore. We've got to get down to an issue. There was 2 different results, right? 2 different results, 1 big difference. 2 different houses, 2 different results. One fell with a great fall. One stood. What was the difference? There was one big difference. It was what it was built on. The structure underneath, one was a rock and one was sand. On the outside, both looked good. Both made it to the cover of HGTV. But one made it for a month. The next month, it was gone because something hit that they didn't expect to happen, and they didn't have the built on what could last and what could stand. It was on shifting sand. The house that didn't fall was anchored to something that didn't move. Even whenever life moved, it didn't move. And unless we're anchored to something that doesn't move, we're going to always move and fall. And it says you're going to be like chasing the wind. It's going to be like shifting sand, always trying to find something. We've got to build on something that's solid. Got to build on something that's solid. The root cause, I think, so often is maybe that we see in these fractures, we're seeing a life that maybe falling around us is not all the little issues. I think really it's fractured because maybe our faith has been built on something faulty. It's been built, our faith is on something that's not solid like it should be. We've settled maybe for like a counterfeit faith. What's counterfeit? It's like these 2 buildings. There's one that looks exactly the same, but we know deep down they're not. One's different, one's not real. It's a counterfeit faith. Counterfeit looks really good, but it doesn't hold what it's supposed to. On the outside, like all of you, man, y'all look good. Y'all are on point today. Like I just love being around you. It raises my level of cool up a little bit. Everybody looks really good, but you might say, I'm pretty shaky, to be honest. Like, you might say, yeah, I've got a nice pressed shirt on today, but underneath there's some fracture. There's some hurt. I'm barely hanging on, Pastor. Like it's not just a little sprinkle, it's a hurricane. Or maybe it's just been years of a sprinkle and I'm kind of done. And maybe it's a moment where we take a second today to just look down and to dig down a little bit and say, what am I standing on? And has what I'm standing on been what's solid? Look underneath and ask, what have I been building my life truly on? I know that I show up to church. I know that you're here, and I'm so grateful for that. I know you're watching online. I'm so glad that you clicked on. We have the t-shirt. We've bought into the thing, but in our life, really on something solid. It looks like it on the outside, but have we built on a faulty foundation? You can do whatever you want, but that baby ain't good. Everything's cracking and breaking, and you're only doing cover-up work from there on, right? Here's some faulty, I'm just going to give a couple of examples of some faulty foundations, but you fill in the blank. There's 1,000 of things that we can build on. How about the faulty foundation of self? I got this, I'm good, I can handle it. But you're not good. You can't handle it on your own. I don't have the ability to be my own foundation, to be what I base my life on. Self-dependence. Maybe it's success. Maybe it's just your own drive, and so it's built completely on me. It'll never stand. Maybe you've got a quid pro quo kind of faith to where, like, I've served you for so long, God, but this didn't happen and this didn't happen, and so you must not love me. You must not care about me. And when you look, it's not really a faith in Jesus. It's in faith in a Jesus who would do something for you. So maybe my faith has been faulty. Maybe I haven't really trusted in something that's secure. I've said I've trusted in Jesus, maybe it's little j. Maybe I said I trusted in God, but it's been a little g. Hasn't really been the God who just said, trust me. Maybe it's a faith of lies, a foundation of lies, things that I believed about myself that aren't true. And so my life's been built around these things. Maybe it's a foundation of simply emotion. Today I feel like it, tomorrow I don't. And that's my entire faith that I've built around. Well, you know what? Most days I don't feel like it. I'm just going to be honest with you. There's nothing more faulty than our feelings. I have felt one way so strong one time and then felt a totally different way. I used to hate onions, and now I'm like, is there onion in this? I hope so. It used to be like, there better not be onion in this. Now I'm like, hey, can you cook with some onion in that? Like, our feelings are so weird. And like maybe you've been built on just the feeling and not anything truly substantial. Maybe you've built your life on a foundation based on people's opinions of you. And so I'm always looking to somebody to validate me. I'm looking online for the clicks, the likes, the shares. I'm looking for somebody to say something to me that makes me feel good. And as soon as I don't get that at my home, at my job, in life, I am done for because I've built my life on approval and opinions of people instead of something deeper, because that doesn't always stay. It doesn't always stand. Faulty, counterfeit, not real. Here's the problem, is it's robbing you of something that is real. That's what I've realized even from my own life, is I'm doing some deep self-search this week and saying, God, there's some areas that I'm not good. There's some areas where maybe I have settled in some areas. And so the problem becomes, too, that we don't realize how much settling has stolen from you. It has robbed your joy and robbed the stability in your life. And it robbed what true faith wants to give you. Jesus says, yeah, you're going to face some stuff, but take heart. Take heart, because you're going to be okay. I've overcome the world. That's what real faith wants. Say, come at me, whatever, because I'm still going to stand. I need a faith that stands. But so often I look and I've kind of lost my footing. I'm on that slip and slide, and I'm tumbling down, heel, neck, shoulder, back, legs, arms. It hurts. Anybody with me? And sometimes you got to look and say, I'm not okay. But maybe it's because I've trusted in something that's not stable, that's not firm, and I've got to get down to the foundation, dig down, ask some questions, and say, Jesus, are you there? Because only Jesus, at the center, at the bottom, at the base, only Jesus is the rock that doesn't move. That's it. Everything else is shaky. Everything else is shifting sand except for Jesus. Everything. Anything else that you fill in the blank with, the faulty foundation in your life, everything else is going to fail. Everything. That greatest person in your life that you've centered everything, at some point they will fail you. At some point this pastor will probably fail you. Jesus won't. And unless it's built on the solid rock of Jesus, we're going to see the cracks forming, and we're going to see some fractures that a little bit of makeup can't fix, that a little bit of just pick yourself up can't fix, that a little bit of spackle and paint can't make better. Until we get down and say, what's underneath? And fix some foundational issues and say, it's only Jesus. It's only Jesus. Only Jesus. Only Jesus. Look down deep and say, has it been only Jesus? Or is it maybe instead something else besides Jesus at the center of it all? Can I admit with you, I've seen some areas. I'm saying, God, help me. Could we all together collectively just say, there's probably some areas. Whenever I'm seeing cracks starting to form, let me look at the foundation that could be faulty. And has my life really been based on a paycheck, a person, a position, a platform, and not on the person of Jesus? He said, if you hear these words and you do them, you're like the wise man who built his house on a rock. Don't you realize that? It's funny that Jesus used the same words as Lufkin PD. Foolish. Foolish. I don't know why I hear the voice of Mr. T. He's like, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing your life crumble. And I just feel like Jesus, I'm just picturing him with chains saying, I pity the fool, right? I pity the fool who doesn't listen to these words and do something about it. I'm telling you, I am the foundation. I am the truth, the life, and the way. There's only one saving faith, and it's Jesus. It's Jesus. And sometimes it's like it's too easy. Jesus needs some help. No, Jesus needs you to trust him. Jesus just needs you to go back and say, you're the sinner. You're the sinner. You're the center of my family. You're the center of my job. You're the center of my next decisions. You're the center of it all, Jesus. And 2 Corinthians 13:2 says this, examine yourselves to see whether you're in the faith. Ooh, I don't like sometimes to stop and do self-examination. Right? I think we all are pretty good at self-examination because y'all all get on WebMD and your doctor hates it. You go in and I think that it's, you name off some big word. Where'd you get off WebMD? So we try to self-examine anyways, but spiritually he says, stop and take a look. Compare it with the word of God and say, hey, how am I doing? Test yourselves. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless, of course, you failed the test. I think sometimes we look really like people of faith. And we try to be really people of faith. And we struggle, but we get down to it. We may have faith in something different, quite honestly, than just Christ and Christ crucified. He is it. He's all I need. Jesus, I ask for this, I need this, but if this is all you ever do for me is you saved me from hell, you set me free, you loved me, that's enough. And I set my life in you, and I know when I do that, sometimes it may get shaky. Sometimes the wind blows on the outside. I might lose a shingle every now and then, but I'm not falling. It's not cracked on the inside. I'm pressed, but I am not crushed. Why? Because I got a foundation that I'm anchored to that does not move. Sometimes I do, but he does not. And so I'm driving in the anchors to Jesus. Can anybody just be with me and say, me too? Me too. Sometimes life isn't fun, but a faith in Christ can withstand anything. You're looking at what you're in saying there's no way out. But Jesus is saying, if you just stay in me, we got this. Is the faith that we're standing on a faith that stands? So David said it this way in Psalm 62. David is a guy who went through, we look at his life and we could summarize it in about 2 minutes. That took a lot of years and a lot of difficulty to live through. A guy who faced a lot of hardship and made some wrong decisions along the way and did a whole lot of things, but that God found him faithful. And he said this, in the middle of it all, no matter what happened, Psalm 62:2, he said, truly, he's my rock. He's my rock, my salvation. He is my fortress. I will never be shaken. Because Christ is my rock. I'm anchored to what doesn't move. Jordan, can you join me up here? Man, I'm telling you, there's just too many areas of my life that I look at and say, man, I'm seeing some cracks there. I'm seeing, man, I'm short-tempered there. Why? Why is that a tender spot? Why? I can't talk about that because it makes me angry. What's going on there? I'm really struggling in this area. But I do some deep dive. I get down deep and I have to ask, is it a superficial issue or is it a foundational problem? Jesus, do I trust you? Whenever life is falling apart financially and I just don't know what I'm going to do, Jesus, do I trust that you are Jehovah Jireh? You're my provider. Whenever I don't know what's going to go on with my healing, I know that you're Jehovah Nissi. That you're Jehovah. I mean, God is. He was described as I am. He didn't say just I am. That is his name. I am. Because I am the God that can fill in the blank for you. But we turn to so many things. But I'm encouraged when I read in Isaiah chapter 43:2, and it says, when you go through deep waters, come on, whether it's 1/10 of an inch or 20 foot deep, torrential rains, he says, I'll be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. Why? Because when we have a life that's built on Jesus, we have a faith that stands. And would you stand with me? What I think that a lot of us have done for a long time, have played house too long. I got the house. It looks really good. But I know on the inside I'm falling apart. It's more than superficial. It's more than a coat of paint. I know that when I dig deep, I'm finding that there's a leaning tower of me. And then at some point, just throwing some extra things down underneath to try is not going to work anymore. I got to fix a foundation problem. I got to fix a real issue. I've just played house too long. I've been pretending too long. Been pretending that I'm okay when I know I'm really not. Listen, we're going to go on in the next week and talk about a faith that truly makes a difference. But we can't talk about a faith that makes a difference and changes the world till we talk about a faith that can stand against anything the world has to offer. A faith that stands the test of time. A faith that's still going to feel the rain and the wind and the torrential floods of life. But a faith that's not moving. Faith that's anchored to the foundation of Jesus Christ. Would you put him at the center? We're going to sing a song, and I would just encourage you in this. Would you just respond however you need to? I don't have a 3-step of what you're supposed to do next. I don't know what it is for you. God's revealed some things to me. I want you just to respond to Jesus in this moment and ask that question of him. Is the faith that I have a faith that stands? And Jesus just be at the center of it all.